Hey everybody, it's me, Jonathan Lack.
And Sean Chapman.
We are here to talk to you for a little bit today. This isn't officially a podcast. We're between podcasts. The Weekly Stuff podcast, we took it out back. We shot it like Old Yeller. It's dead. But there is going to be a new one. We have some details for you. It is a fun update. The main reason we are here in your feed again today, though, is because it is Brat Summer, and we are going to talk all about Charli XCX's latest album. Right, Sean?
I know what all of that is.
You do? Okay, that's impressive.
No, I was lying. It's a music. It's music.
It
right?
is music.
Okay, it's music.
It's music.
Probably
it's
good.
Life. It's club culture. It's great.
You know me, I'm all about those clubs.
Absolutely. The idea of Sean Chapman going to a club is hilarious because it would be, I feel like, the end of the multiverse just collapsing in on itself.
Yeah.
All right.
It would be a disaster. What are we talking about today, Jonathan?
We're just giving a little update on what we've been doing because I realized that we have a lot going on, and without the Weekly Stuff podcast, we weren't able to update people on it, so I thought we should. I still have the feed. The feed isn't going anywhere, YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. So, yeah. Couple of things. First things first, Japanimation Station, if you haven't been listening, when this is out on a Monday, the same day we have Japanimation Station, Season 4, Part 7, did I get that right, Sean?
That is correct.
Has begun, and it is really good. It is the final 5 episodes of Japanimation Station's Kyoto Vacation, beginning with 3 episodes on Violet Evergarden, the first one, which is the longest episode of the season, and I think the longest episode we've recorded under the Japanimation Station banner is out, and it is the Violet Evergarden Season 1. It's the only season, the TV series review, and that show is amazing. And then we've got the 2 movie episodes coming up. We're reviewing Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, and then we're going to have a fun ending to the season. So if you haven't been following along with Japanimation Station, you forgot about it, go over there. That stuff's good. We haven't been really gone. We've just been over talking about anime on that feed.
Hell yeah, and it is good anime. That Violet Evergarden episode, I remember having a fun time recording that because I just, in my soul, I was like, I'm not letting this podcast end. We're not stopping. We're just gonna keep going until I'm satisfied.
I could see it in your eyes. I could see every time I tried to hurry us up, you were like, no.
Nope.
Fuck you, Jonathan. Not this time.
I've waited a long time to do the Violet Evergarden episode, and we fucking did it.
We did it. So that is happening. In terms of other podcast stuff, we know in episode 500, when we announced that we had euthanized the Weekly Stuff podcast, we would be creating something else in its place. We would be bringing home a new pet for everyone to play with. This is a very morbid metaphor I've fallen into with what we did to the Weekly Stuff podcast.
Yeah, after we brought the Weekly Stuff up into the gallows, and we put a noose around its neck and fucking pulled out the trap door, and we watched it dangle for a little bit. While we were watching it dangle, we were out there in R&D developing a new podcast.
We have been. So we can actually announce today, because Sean and I have just had a rare not while recording into a microphone conversation about the future of our various plans.
I found it odd talking to you when I hadn't pivoted my microphone around yet. I was just like, what is this?
Me too. I agree. So, yes, we will have the new show that we promised, and as we hinted in episode 500, it is going to be a monthly series. It will inherit a lot of what the Weekly Stuff was, but in a new package that we are planning to be a little bit more tighter and consistent. And, of course, it will be monthly now instead of weekly, although the Weekly Stuff had become bi-weekly at best by the end of its run. So the new show will be premiering in September. It should be the first week of September. We haven't yet figured out what day of the week it will be. If you have any feedback on that, what days of the week do you like your podcasts? Let us know. We're also balancing, obviously, Japanimation Station considerations here. So we will let you know the exact date, but it will be September 2024 will be the first episode. And we are calling it Purely Academic, and it will be a potentially educational podcast. Sean, you came up with the name for this one.
Yes.
So why don't you tell the kids why we decided to call it Purely Academic, and tell us, will it be purely academic?
Yeah, so, I've long wanted to just start a hardcore pedagogy podcast where we really break in and get into the nitty-gritty of educational theory, and that's obviously not what we're doing. Yeah, so we're calling it Purely Academic, partially because it is hard to name a podcast that is about whatever random topic we want to do for that month. But we started when we did. I mean, we did the monthly 10 in Jonathan's room in the basement of his house, and we were high schoolers is when we started doing podcasts, right? And most of our podcast stuff was purely just coming up with random topics and shooting the shit, and it being purely just for giggles. And then over the years, we have shifted to being much more of a sort of pseudo-academic model, which obviously is what has inspired ultimately our current thing with Japanimation Station, where we like to go in, we like to look at the history, and we like to more kind of take a harsher analytic eye at whatever our topic is. And since we've moved in that direction, we're both involved in education. You're getting your PhD. I'm a high school English teacher. It just made sense to kind of put a little bit of that juice into the name of the podcast itself. And so that's where Purely Academic comes from. So it is not a literally educational podcast. Again, we're not going to have you guys, give a whole episode on I don't know, Zagatsky's fucking realm of education potentials and shit like that. We're not getting into there,
unless you want it.
Yeah.
If there is overwhelming public demand, we never thought we would do on the weekly stuff. We had the episode all about teaching topics. We didn't think anyone would want that, and then people asked for it. So who knows? Maybe Zagatsky, his time has come.
Yeah, or we can have a whole, season on Bloom's hierarchy, and we can just go really into the taxonomy of Bloom's hierarchy and all that kind of stuff. Just a whole episode about that. Not necessarily. It'll still be the same kinds of stuff that we've typically been doing, but as Jonathan, you said, it will now be able to be more focused, and we'll be able to have the time to actually dig deeper into those topics. Because that's kind of what happened with the weekly stuff, is all of that energy went off into Japanimation Station, and the weekly stuff was just sort of left with a bunch of random things that didn't have the same amount of effort put into it as when we did things like the Batman season, or like Star Wars prequel series and all that kind of stuff. When we started to move the weekly stuff in that direction, Japanimation Station kind of took that and ran with it. So I think this is a way for us to keep that more intense kind of critical and academic perspective on our topics, still have our fun, still have our check-in, whatever we've been watching, whatever we've been playing, all that will be here as well. If there's anything interesting in the news going on, we can talk about that. But it being monthly will allow us to have that energy we wanted for the podcast still.
And the plan is also for it to be a bit of a fresh start. We've got a new name. We've got a new format. At the first episode, the September episode, will very much be introducing and reintroducing ourselves. And I think that will be fun for people who know us. But I also hope that if you've ever wanted to recommend this show to someone, and then you have to say, well, there's 500 episodes and it started when they were kids and blah, 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 blah. I understand why that becomes a hard thing to recommend to people. And I think this is a fresh start. My plan is that we will keep the existing feed. You shouldn't, if you're already subscribed, you shouldn't need to resubscribe. It'll be renamed Purely Academic in your feed. The weekly stuff episodes will still be in there. I pay to upkeep all of this, and it's there. The YouTube channel, I will probably rebrand all of that, and it'll now be Purely Academic on one side and Japanimation Station on the other. But the weekly stuff content is it lives on the internet. It's archived. I'm not getting rid of it. So if you want to go back to that stuff, it'll always be there.
Yes, its rotting corpse will be left out into the sun for all to peruse. That's our plan for the future, which I think is the right thing to do.
The other thing is, it is funny we're making all these morbid jokes. The second episode of Purely Academic will be an October Halloween episode, so I think it's appropriate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Based
on the calendar.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited for our new podcast plans, Jonathan.
And hopefully we can even coerce Thomas into writing a new theme song for us. Although, based on how many songs he's written for the current season of Japanimation Station, I don't think any coercion is necessary. He just does this.
Yeah, he's been bit by the Hatsune Miku bug, as we all must eventually, and I couldn't be happier for him.
One other big announcement in my neck of the woods is that I have subtly rebranded, and I've launched some new content on my website, which is jonathanlack.com, JONATHANLACK.com.
Where did you get the name for that one?
I've had that domain since 2011, Sean. I've had it for a very long time. If you didn't know and you weren't already following, it is a Substack website, so it is a newsletter, and everything I publish goes to your email, but it is also just a website where everything is archived and you can go read everything. And it had been called The Weekly Stuff Wordcast, which was a dumb joke when I opened the Substack and I thought it would be funny. I felt the joke had maybe run its course by the time we retired the Weekly Stuff podcast, because at that point, calling something the Weekly Stuff Wordcast made no sense.
Yeah.
So it has been rechristened as Fade to Lack, which is the name that is an editor gave my column in the Denver Post Your Hub section way back in the day, like 2010, 2011. And then it was the name of the old version of JonathanLack.com. And it is just a brand that I feel comfortable under. It's a pun. It's about movies. It's fine. So that is what
I wish that you resurrected the Colorado Kid name. You're back in Colorado right now. I don't know if you'll be there permanently or not, but it would have been nice to just have it out there for a little bit.
You know, it wasn't mine. I was not the only Colorado Kid, but Colorado Kids is a long dead brand. I think I could take it if I wanted to take it. I have thought, my name would fit into several puns for various Western movie columns. If I wanted to do a column about Western movies and call it Lack in the Saddle Again, I could do that. I could do The Colorado Kid, because that sounds like I am someone who gets shot by John Wayne at the end of a movie. I definitely don't survive the Western. If I'm the Colorado Kid, I am dead at the end of that Western. That is definitely true. But anyway, yeah. So what did I actually want to tell you guys about Fade to Lack? I have launched, obviously this is a thing you can do on Substack. I had never done it. I have launched paid subscriptions. Don't go yet. Listen, I'm not just trying to take your money. I'm giving you guys stuff. So there is now paid subscriptions on JonathanLack.com. It's not for everything. Podcasts are free and always will be, and that's mine and Sean things anyway, so I'm not, taking that over that way. That would be weird. But in terms of my writing, I basically had an epiphany about a month ago where I was working on a piece, and I had put so much effort into it, I went, I really probably shouldn't give this away for free. Not just because of valuing my own work, but also because I am in my final semester of getting my PhD. I do not have teaching work for this final semester. I'm currently back home in Colorado, kind of in between things. And so employment is a little weird right now. I'm not sure what I'm doing. So anything helps in terms of money. And I already was planning on doing all this writing. So I thought, you know what? Why buy the cow if you can get the milk for free? That's the wrong metaphor for this, right, Sean?
That applies in any way, shape, or form. Why not make a little bit extra with all the work you're doing?
Thank you. You put it better than I could somehow. Anyway, so the basic thing is the main paid thing on the site right now is there's a weekly column called Movie of the Week. It would be very weird if that were monthly when I call it Movie of the Week. And there'll be a new movie review. It wouldn't be that weird
with our track record of calling things weekly and monthly, honestly. But I'm glad that you're trying to fix those problems of the past.
Thank you. The main idea for Movie of the Week is it'll be a piece of writing, a substantial piece of writing on a movie that I find interesting. These are not new movies. These are, you could call them classics. Sometimes they will be more obscure, but they will be movies I find interesting and I have done writing on or want to do writing on. Kind of in the vein of what you've seen for free on the site over the last couple of months, where I had all the Hayao Miyazaki columns on all of his films. I had all of the Star Wars pieces. Currently we're doing Star Trek Sundays. Like that, but they are behind the paywall. And it's because I'm really proud of these pieces. The first one, which was a couple weeks ago, was on the Prince film Purple Rain. I followed that up last week with a film on Prince's more obscure follow-up film, Under the Cherry Moon, which I found just fascinating to write about. But August is where we're really getting into it, and the one that is coming out this week, I think, is one people listening to this podcast will be interested in, and it is a giant 10-page review/essay on Tim Burton's Batman from 1989, a movie I have spent my entire life grappling with, and I thought I'd kind of finished grappling with it when we did a podcast on it a couple years ago. Turns out I hadn't, and now I think I've exercised my Tim Burton's Batman demons, but it's a really good piece. It's an enormous piece. It is the one I was talking about where I was like, I should probably charge for this, and so there'll be that. The other movies coming up in August, I've already announced these on Instagram and Twitter, are Alien Covenant, for the week that Alien Romulus is coming out. That's the last Alien film that Ridley Scott did, and I've always wanted to write about it. Then a piece on Michael Mann's Manhunter, and a piece on Brian De Palma's Scarface. So just those are all written. They're ready to go. Even if I get killed, your $5 for the month, you will still get those. After that point,
so any assassin who's trying to be like, we can't let him review Scarface, we can't let it happen. It's too late. It's too late. You already shot that shot.
For September, we're going to have some Coppola films because that is the month that Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis comes out. I have a piece on Bram Stoker's Dracula I'm working on. Some Godfather pieces. October, we'll have some Halloween stuff. It'll have the week of October 23rd is actually the week of the 40th anniversary of Terminator. So there'll be a piece on James Cameron's Terminator and Terminator 2. There's all sorts of exciting stuff coming up. I've got these planned through the end of the year, basically. Not everything is finished being written, but everything is pretty much planned out. And there's a lot that I am very excited to share. And I think it's worth the money. It is $5 a month or $50 for an annual subscription. Again, I have this planned out, and I had it planned out because I didn't want to just start this and not have a plan for where it would go. If people are giving me money, I wanted to make sure I had stuff. I do have stuff. It'll be consistent. The $5 a month also gets you the ongoing Star Trek Sundays pieces, which are taken from my book 200 Reviews, but have never been online, and they are very good. We've got 4 of those out now, but there are 13 fucking Star Trek movies, so those are coming through, I think, October, and there's a lot of them, and some of those pieces are very big and exciting and fun. And then also the archives for the site. I've made it so that anything more than 4 weeks old kind of goes behind the paywall, but I exported everything from my old website onto the current Fade to Lack, so it's over 1,000 pieces. So there's a lot kind of in the archive if you want to peruse. So please take a look at it. There's free previews of everything, so you can look at it and see if you want to read. And I do think the August lineup is very exciting. I just know, because I've got all this writing that I've been having so much fun doing, I'm really excited to share it with people. There's a piece on Mobile Suit Gundam Char's Counterattack that I have scheduled for the week of the U.S. election. I made that choice before Biden dropped out. I do think now I feel less like I want to invite the asteroid to Earth. The initial idea was because I thought we were going to need the asteroid. I'm not sure we need the asteroid anymore, but it'll still be there, and it's a piece that it's not finished, but I'm working on, and I'm very excited to. I've never written about that movie. We've done podcasts on it, but yeah.
I mean, I'm more optimistic about things, but I'd still invite an asteroid if one wants to come by. I wouldn't say no. I'd at least ask it in the door, see what it's doing, how it feels about things. It's just I wouldn't shut that immediately off. The asteroid, it could still be helpful.
Yeah. So it's all there. I want to encourage people to take a look and subscribe if you can and if you want. It'll be fun. Sean, I just gave you a lifetime. I can give people just free lifetime subscriptions if I want. So I did give you one. So your email, you should have that, Sean, so you can sign up and look at stuff. I would feel weird charging you for all this because you make podcasts with me.
Cool, because because you recently did some stuff on Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, because there was that.
Yes.
Was it a Criterion release?
I did, yeah. That's another one. I was gonna save that for Movie of the Week, and then I decided to put it out at the end of the Criterion sale. Was the end of July for Barnes & Noble. That's another one that is behind the paywall. That's like 12 pages. I spent 2 full weeks working on this because I watched all 3 versions of the movie on that Criterion set. I compare them in detail. I'm really proud of that piece. It's really good.
Yeah, because I've been wanting to read that, but I don't remember which version I watched. I've seen Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid forever ago, and I've had this Criterion release on my radar, so that's like in the back of my head is to pick that up and watch those and then read your reviews, because those are that is a really good movie, and I'm sure that all the versions are very interesting because I've only seen the one version.
Yeah, I was not necessarily planning to do a big piece on it. It's just once you start comparing them, it is a weird movie that does not have a definitive edition. Sam Peckinpah walked off that movie. There will never be a director's cut. So, you have to kind of make do with what we have. And the Criterion set is I would not call it a definitive release of the film, because, again, I don't think that's possible. But it's as close as we're going to get for now. So, it's cool. So, yeah, all that stuff and more over at Fade to Lack. I think I am giving people their money's worth. And I am excited for people to sign up. And I hope you guys enjoy that.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's been fun reading your stuff as you've been getting back into doing more online writing, and there's a lot of really good stuff. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you continue to write and what kind of crazy movies you find and interesting things you have to say about them. Like I want to read that Batman piece now.
Yes, I think it's good. And I should also say reviews of new movies, because I don't really know when the spirit will move me with a new movie, right? I have to see it to see if I really want to review it. So those are free. Those are not, they'll be behind the paywall after 4 weeks, but when they first come out, like there's a review of Deadpool and Wolverine up right now, that's free. Those will remain free because they're not a consistent necessarily thing that I do every single week. But yeah, so keep an eye on that. And if you want to read my thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine, that's over there too. I hear people are watching that movie.
It seems popular.
Yeah.
I've not seen
All right, so Sean, those are our announcements. Japanimation Station continuing apace with almost the end of Season 4, and we will be announcing Seasons 5 and 6 in the Season 4 finale, so make sure you tune into that one. We have Purely Academic, a potentially educational podcast from your friends Jonathan Lack and Sean Chapman, coming in September, and we have paid content with a bunch of really cool movie writing over at Fade to Lack, jonathanlack.com, JONATHANLACK.com. Thank you all for listening to our little update, and we hope you're having a good summer, a good brat summer.
Hell yeah, Brat Summer out here in the club. Let's go. Woo!